you came along, we Bagginses were very well thought of. Never had any adventures or did anything unexpected.
Hello, I'm Nicholas John.
And I'm Nick Andrew, and we come to you live from the Green Dragon.
This is the first episode of our Prologue series leading up to Season 1 of GDL, where we guide you through The Lord of the Rings with a read-along, in which we will go with you, chapter by chapter, through the Lord of the Rings novels. Novels? Help us, Nick. Novel or novels?
Both. Sure, we'll go with both.
Why both?
Well, it was initially published in 3 volumes due to the timing. It was right after a war, paper shortage, nobody could afford a 900-page book. So they published it in 3 volumes, much to Tolkien's chagrin. He did not want to do that, absolutely did not want to do that, but it came down to either this is what I do to get this out into the world, or it just doesn't happen. So novels, they're like Voltron. You have 3 of them, but by their powers combined, they are one.
That's anachronistic to our story. So, this podcast will go through each chapter of the Lord of the Rings novel, and we'll take you through the characters, the places, the things, the plot that happens, and we'll help you get through the whole story. But first, let's go back. We are live from the Green Dragon. This is Green Dragon Live. Where is the Green Dragon? Why does it matter?
Why does the Green Dragon is, if you've seen the films, you've been to the Green Dragon. It's a favorite hub for the hobbits. It's also a social hub. It's in the town of Bywater, which is right next to Hobbiton. Bywater and Hobbiton are parts of the Shire, specifically the West Farthing. So you've got the Shire, you've got it broken up into 4 quarters, east, north, west, south, and Bywater, which is where the Green Dragon is in the West Farthing. So technically speaking, we come to you live from the West Farthing of the Shire.
All right, we will put a map in the show notes if you want to get a clear picture of what the Shire looks like, and we'll point out where Bywater is in relation to Hobbiton, so you can go check that out in the show notes. Why are we podcasting? I think that's a good question.
Well, even more than why are we podcasting, why are we doing a prologue series to a series?
Well,
some people might look at that and wonder, what?
Right. Well, part of the reason is that I'm hoping that many of you listeners will be brand new to the books. And if you look in your book, and the first thing you have are a series of essays that are the prologue. And they kind of go through a little bit about what we're going to go through. We're going to do a little bit more detail on some aspects, but they give you a head start into what the story is about. We're going to give you a little bit of a map of the characters and the places and the things that happen, so that when they happen in the book, they're not a complete mystery to you.
So, and that's going to apply to people who've read it once, who've never read it, people who've read it 137,000 times, like myself. There's always more that you can learn, and there's always more depth to what you're reading if you're willing to look for it. And that's the part that a lot of people coming new to Tolkien's work don't know where to go, or they start to dig in, and the rabbit hole is way too deep, and it's overwhelming. So we're going to try to guide. We're going to try to be a nice guide as we go through the different places in Middle-earth and encounter the different peoples. So hopefully this prologue series helps serve as an engine primer.
Yeah.
So, Nicholas, to round it back, why a podcast? Why are we doing this whole thing in the form of a podcast?
Well, first of all, they're fun. And for myself and many other people that I know, we have a commute of some sort each day to and from work, or maybe you're standing and doing the dishes or cooking in the kitchen or cutting the grass or something like that. It's a chance that you can take something in that's different than America's Top 20 or something like that, or listening to the consistent negativity found in talk radio. And we really want to be the podcast for Middle-earth. You know, something that is accessible to everyone, regardless of how familiar you are or not familiar you are with the world, and really for those who might be intimidated by the sheer scope of Tolkien's creation.
So we've got a setting, we've got a medium.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly are we doing?
Well, for Season 1, I'm going to go chapter by chapter through the Lord of the Rings novel, giving insight and additional information about the characters, the setting, the story, the plot, the history, the interconnectedness of it all, I said history, but there's deep history. There's like the recent history that happens that kind of sets up the way the world is when we enter the story. And then there's deeper history going all the way back to the creation of Middle-earth and the characters that are involved at that time. Tolkien created such a vibrant world, but the level of dedication needed to really get into it is so high. We wanted a way to make the intricacies of this amazing world accessible to everyone. So if that's what we're doing, why then are we doing it? Why read along, Nick?
Oh, well, so after collaborating together on a read along in the past, it worked out really well. It brought a lot of motivation because you're doing this as a group, brought a lot of accountability for continuing through. Even though the series that we had read for that read along, I had read numerous times, this kind of helped keep me incentivized to continue reading it. We had individuals that were new to the game. It helped keep them involved, having this consistent schedule and the consistent presence of other people that want to talk about what's going on. And if you fall behind or you skip ahead, you can't talk about the here and now, the story. So group read along, we found, works extremely well. Now, one thing was the book series that we did before, very approachable series. It's super popular. The Lord of the Rings is not as approachable, like we mentioned a little bit ago. It's extremely deep. So we're going to do a supporting podcast that is a guide, like we mentioned before. Speaking of books, because we are reading along, and with The Lord of the Rings being out as long as it has been available to the public, one question you might find yourself asking is, what book should I be using to make sure we can follow you?
All right, so the short answer is, it doesn't matter. The longer answer is that we advise that you have a second edition print, because Tolkien, in spite of his vigilance in editing, and to keep the editors and printers from changing his text where they thought there were mistakes, but really he wrote it precisely, he had to make some corrections from the first edition to the second. So if you have an old copy laying around, check to see if it's the first edition or the second edition, because that will make a difference in some of the text, and it might be a little foggy, a little unclear as to what's going on if you have the first edition.
So, and that's a great point as far as it not really mattering which one you have, as long as it's second edition, because we're going to be proceeding by chapter number. There's only one or two rare occurrences where we're going to split a chapter up. So, because it's chapter number, the exact print's not going to matter. We're going to try, let me rephrase that, we're going to try not to reference things by page number, and if I do, because if we end up doing it, I'm going to do it, I will make sure to clarify for everyone. But I myself, I'm using the leather-bound 50th anniversary edition because reasons.
And I will be using a $20 paperback single volume edition, and we'll put pictures of our editions in the show notes, so you can check out which ones exactly that we have. The one I'm using is my take notes, write in it, and get it all messy edition. I do have a nice one also just hanging around, but for this I'll be lugging it around.
Right. So, and that's a good point. It's a big book. It's a very large book. However, you can get the cute little pocket edition. It splits it up. You have the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and the Return of the King, like we mentioned earlier in the podcast. They're very small. If you've ever seen like a pocket New Testament, it's smaller than that and manages to pack the entire book in there. If that's what you want to use, more power to you. You may need a magnifying glass, and if you end up burning the pages, I apologize.
Here's a question for you. How many copies of the entire series do you have?
Oh, well, I'm sitting right next to my shelf. I have one copy that is split, so it's all 3 volumes, or all 3 novels. I have a hardcover with Gandalf peering quizzically at me from the cover. And then I have my 50th anniversary. There are 2 copies that are no longer with us, and I would like to take a moment in silence. Okay, we're good. 2 copies no longer with us. One involved coffee.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I have, let's see, I think I have 2 copies that are in 3 volumes, and I have my single volume. The one I really want to get is the $100 leather-bound 50th anniversary edition that has the gold leaf and the ribbon page marker and stuff like that. That's the one I really want, but it's $100, and it's not going to happen yet.
Fair enough.
So the short answer, again, ultimately it's irrelevant. Choose the tome that speaks to you.
So we've referenced a lot of pictures. We've referenced different editions. We referenced maps earlier. We're going to provide that. We will have downloadable links whenever we post an episode. And if you're listening through iTunes, just head over to our website and we will have links to the downloadables there for you so that you can see exactly what we're talking about.
Yep. All right. Thank you all for joining us for episode 0.1 of Green Dragon Live.
There is definitely more to come, so please go to our website, greendragonlive.com, where you can find out all about the show.
And we would really love it if you would send us your feedback and questions and continue a dialogue with us and other listeners in the forum on our website. You can also subscribe to our newsletter where you'll get show notes and everything else.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Green Dragon Live and shout out all your questions and comments using the hashtag GDLive.
Or visit our page on Facebook at facebook.com/greendragonlive.
I do also want to give a quick shout out to Harry Morell for a beautiful intro and outro music.
Thanks again for listening. I'm Nicholas John.
And I'm Nick Andrew.
Join us next time when we are live from the Green Dragon.
And remember, the road goes ever on and on.
And if you don't keep your feet, there's no knowing where you might get swept off to.